this week we discussed chapters 11 and 12. Chapter 11 is about diversity and vibrancy in the deaf community. This diversity comes from the multiple organizations that are within the deaf community. According to the book, solutions for effective living are social activities, athletic events, political function, self-help, special interest groups, spiritual and religious groups, and large gatherings. And according to the book, a lot of this diversity begins within deaf schools. In the videos about Austin and Rochester, I think they provided great examples of how these aspects contribute to a diverse deaf community. Both of these cities have large, diverse deaf communities that are in different interest groups and have different ethnic groups as well. And I believe in both of these cities, the deaf communities are centered around deaf school. And I believe it is because these deaf schools provide the foundations for these solutions. They give deaf children access to social activities with each other, athletic events. They help build a strong sense of self within these deaf children, and also it allows them to explore different interest groups. And another thing it does is within these communities they have a support system for each other. They try to build each other up and help each other. For example, a program I personally liked was the Rochester Bridges to the Doctorate. This program focuses on increasing the number of deaf people in scientific fields, because right now there is only about 1% of the scientific field that is deaf people. And as a woman in the scientific field, I too am a minority because the field is mostly male. So I think that this program is an awesome way to help increase diversity within this scientific field, and it allows people to open doors for deaf people, women, and people of color in the scientific field. Then in chapter 12 we learned about the collision between culture and disability. Disability is a political term that is used to label deaf people. It provides a way to receive funding, make laws for protection of rights, civil rights, and language rights, as well as it gives jobs, incentives for hiring people with disabilities. However, the term comes with a negative stigma, so that this label that is given to deaf people by hearing community makes them feel like they are less than what they actually are, and it puts this negative stigma onto the deaf community. This is why it is important to the deaf community and within deaf culture for that deaf people are able to create their own labels. For example, they don't want to be called hearing impaired because it makes them seem like they are broken and less. They prefer just to be called deaf or deaf-blind. And I think that one way to kind of become over this stigma is deaf leaders. It is important that there are strong deaf leaders because these deaf leaders provide to deaf people a model and someone to look up to as a way to give them confidence that they can do it too. And I think that it is important as a hearing person to support and back these deaf leaders so that we can use our advantages to help them spread their beliefs and what the deaf community needs.